Okay, I'm here in the reading area at school to tell you about our story Salt. We read the story last week and you all loved it because it's an amazing imaginative narrative story. It's like a fantasy because it has things in it that would not happen in real life. But it was so much fun reading it with you guys and trying to figure out and predict what was going to happen next in the story. And then it did have this amazing happy ending. And so because you have a reading test this week, I wanted to go over the story again with you. And I wanted to do a retelling of the story by using little puppets that I made out of straw. What I did is I took the story that we photocopied, and you can do the same thing, and you can cut out all the characters and you can tape them to straws and you can make little puppets like this. You see how I made little puppets? So I'm going to do a retelling by using these puppets, and this would be a great thing for you to do to review before we take this test. Okay, and then on the next video with you guys, I want to go over some of your reading worksheets so you can get your reading packet done this week and be really independent and be able to do it all on your own and practice amazing reading comprehension. Okay, so get ready for the retelling of the story Salt. Okay guys, our story this week is called Salt. It is an imaginative narrative story, and it's an amazing tale about what happens to a young man named Ivan. So the story starts off with a merchant, a really rich merchant who had 3 sons. The first son was Fyodor, the second was Vasily, and the third was Ivan. Ivan the Fool is what his dad called him because he really felt like he could do no good. The merchant wanted to send his sons on a ship full of great things out for an awesome adventure. Ivan wanted to go so bad, but his dad's like, no, you won't be any good to go on this ship, but he begged his dad. So he sent his sons on the ship to load up everything in their cargo, and he said, go and have an amazing adventure on the high seas. But because Ivan begged and asked, can I please go on this amazing adventure with my brothers? Then his dad, of course, said yes. So Ivan also got to go on a ship, and they set off for their amazing adventure. But here's what happened next. The wind came along and blew Ivan's ship all over the place, and down his went ship and it sank. Now remember, Ivan's ship was not full of the amazing things that his brother's ship was full of. It was just full of boards and wooden things and cheap, inexpensive things. And so all of that went into the ocean with Ivan, and guess where the wind blew him and took him, and he landed on something. He landed on a mountain made entirely of salt. He's like, wow, this is interesting. So he took all of this salt and he put it on his ship, and he went and it landed into a kingdom, and there he met a king. And so he went before the king. Now again, you can get your king on a popsicle stick too. He went before the king and he said, oh great king, I have all this amazing salt. You're really gonna want it. And the king said, we don't have any need for salt in our kingdom. Nobody uses salt on their food. Ivan just didn't know what he was going to do. He had all this salt that he knew the kingdom would love. Look, it looks like the king is like touching my head. And so he's like, I'm gonna sneak in and I'm gonna put salt in their food. So that's exactly what Ivan did. Ivan went and got that salt, and he snuck and he put it in the kingdom's food of all of the people and in the king's food. So that evening when the king ate his dinner, he was like, why does my food taste so delicious? It's the best food I've ever had in my entire life. And Ivan, he said, bring Ivan before me. And Ivan came before him. And Ivan said, King, I'm so sorry. I put the salt in your food. But the king was actually so happy because the food tasted so delicious that he praised Ivan so much that he even allowed him to bring the princess in the boat with him, because he heard this princess was part of the kingdom too. So he asked Ivan, what can I pay you for all this amazing salt? And he said, King, you can just give me lots of silver and gold. So he loaded his ship with silver and gold. Can you believe it? And then he said, you can also have my daughter as your princess and you can marry her. Ivan was so excited. He took everything on the ship, including the amazing princess who was part of the kingdom. He gets back on his ship and he is so excited because so many amazing things were happening to him. And he had the princess on the ship with him, and he's ready to go back to his dad and tell his dad about all the great things that had happened to him, how he found the salt and how he met the king and how he got the gold and silver. Everything was going great. However, his two brothers, Phaedor and Vasily, were so jealous of him. So they heard about what happened and they came and they terrorized Ivan's boat and they knocked him into the water and they took the princess and they took all the silver and gold. Ivan was so sad because, again, he was back in the water. He got on one of those boards and he rowed himself to land. He made it safely to land and he was just so sad. Who's going to save the day? Well, of course, but a gloomy little giant, not a little, big, a gloomy big giant. And the gloomy giant came with these mittens on the end of his very long mustache because he was very gloomy. But he said, I can take you back to your dad. I can help you. I want to do good for you. So what does he do? He says, get on my back. So Ivan did just that. He got on the giant's back and the giant took him to go see his dad. Let's go! And he walked across the ocean because, of course, he was a giant and he got him all the way back to the kingdom. So what happened when he got to the kingdom? Well, the giant barged into where Phaedor and the brothers was going to marry the sister. And he said, you're not going to marry her. Ivan's going to marry her. And she goes, there's the one that I love. And she goes to Ivan and the dad praises Ivan and gives him all the gold and silver and allows him to marry the princess. Well, you think that would be the end of the story, right? But one of the things that the gloomy giant told Ivan not to do was to boast and brag about him. And Ivan didn't listen. Everyone was bragging, so he decided to brag too. And when that happened, it made the gloomy giant very sad. But then Ivan said, Giant, I love you so much and I'm so grateful for all you've done. I wasn't trying to brag. I was just so happy. And so he teaches the giant what happiness is. And look, the giant's not wearing those gloomy mittens on his gloomy mustache anymore. He learned what true happiness was and they all sang and danced together. And what happened to the princess? She did marry Ivan and they lived happily ever after in this amazing kingdom. And that is the story for the week, called Salt. What a creative story. I loved every minute of it because I never knew what was going to happen next. And you guys can make fun little puppets too. You guys have fun reading, continue reading all year and all summer. So when you come back in 4th grade, you will be exceptionally good readers. Bye.